just a fair warning. Make sure you listen to this episode on a bright, sunny day because it's about to get dark. We're talking about Nightmare Alley.
And welcome back to the SuperCaZt, everybody. I am your host, the SuperFosh, the man who put the super in SuperCaZt, and back from the dead himself, my buddy and co-host,
Steve Z, the man who put the Z in SuperCaZt.
Welcome back, my friend.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be back because last week was not pleasant for me. I was down for the count, had to get some sleep, had to get some rest, and it's good I did because I feel a lot better. I'm ready to go this week.
Well, we are definitely glad to have you back, and we're talking about a movie that I was unaware of until about a week or so ago when you suggested it, and that movie is Nightmare Alley, starring, a lot of people. Bradley Cooper, among other people. But go ahead and set up the scene for us, man. What is this movie about? If you can even do that without spoiling it too much.
Yeah, and we're going to do this with minor spoilers.
Yes.
It's not the straight up just reveal the ending
right.
or anything like that, but it's going to have a little bit because we have to talk about it. And I guess before we do, I do want to give you some props for doing that episode last week by yourself.
Thank you.
Double Indemnity. And that's why I kind of picked this one because I'm not going to say they're totally related, but they're definitely in the same family.
Definitely.
If you will. This one is dark as can be, as I said on my intro. This is, I guess you would call it neo-noir film.
I would say that, yeah.
Yeah, so if you're not familiar with this film, which few people are, because unfortunately this movie kind of went under the radar. It came out last Christmas, and it's kind of bad because it's from Guillmero Del Toro, who just won Best Director like a couple of years ago with his last film, The Shape of Water. And you think this guy would get a lot more hype, but somehow, I don't know, his own studio didn't really market this movie that well. It came out, and now it's on HBO Max. So you can go watch it, and yes. I highly suggest you do because
Definitely.
It is an interesting experience. I heard about it from a few film critics that were just like, "Yeah, this made my top 10 list. I can't believe nobody else is really promoting this movie." So I was like, "I'm going to watch that," and I did. And it's one of those films that it's going to suck you in. That's the only way I can really describe it. It's not going. It might happen on the first shot. It might take 30 or 40 minutes, but eventually you will be sucked in, and you're like, I cannot stop watching. It's for multiple reasons. It's because you're compelled by the mystery. It's because you like the characters, and it's also because I don't know. I want to say that it's disturbing, but yet you can't stop watching. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing. I went in pretty much sight unseen. I mean, you told me about it. You said we were going to talk about it on the show. So I was like, okay, yeah, Nightmare Alley, Bradley Cooper. All right, let's go. And I don't know. I could tell from the first few seconds, really, of this film that it was going to be something different. And again, we're going to try to keep it mild with the spoilers and everything. But those first, 30 minutes of the show of the movie. Just really, especially the thing with the chicken, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I was not prepared for that. I was not even remotely prepared for what happened there. I mean, but it seemed like from that scene on, I couldn't stop watching. I was like, okay, what's going to happen? And, yeah, so kind of set it up for us. Like I said, we're gonna try to keep out of spoiler talk, but kind of give us a little bit of what the movie's about without hopefully revealing too much.
Okay, I'll try my best. So this is a Depression-era film,
right?
And I really like that aspect of it. You can definitely feel the depression in this, and I think it's hard to do in movies nowadays because oftentimes they have it set in the past, and it just seems like we're just making references to it, but this one actually feels like the characters are desperate. It's and which would characterize the depression. A lot of desperation going on here, and our protagonist is definitely a desperate guy. Bradley Cooper plays this guy named Stanton Carlisle, who at the beginning, should I go ahead and say what he does?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
So the very first shot of the film is him dragging a corpse across the floor of a house that we don't know whose house this is, what this is. And he just sets it on fire, the whole house, everything, and walks away.
And there's no explanation for why he did that, or at least there's not, right then. So right then, okay, there's going to be some stuff in this film that's just going to be a little bit questionable. And that was a pretty questionable beginning, if you ask me.
Definitely. I mean, because we don't know what happened until like halfway through the movie, and even then you don't get the full story until much later.
Mm-hmm.
So he is very desperate, man. He's leaving whatever circumstances he had and just basically leaving it in ashes all behind. Joins the circus as just a laborer, but eventually he starts buddying around with some of the people in there. He learns what it takes to have an act in the circus and decides he himself is going to have an act. And along the way he meets these two mentalists. I'm trying to remember their names. It's Zara, who's played by Toni Collette, and this other guy named Pete, who's an alcoholic, her husband. And that actor, I see him in a lot of stuff, but I always forget his name. It's David Strathairn. But those two really make an impression on him. They teach him the art of illusionist, which basically you pretend to read people's minds. And this really appeals to him. Why do you think that is? Why do you think his character is so into like wanting to read people's minds, or at least pretend that?
I was thinking about that. I actually watched this twice, and the second time I watched it, I was thinking just that thought about that. Maybe to have some power over people, maybe to kind of control people, kind of thing, I guess.
I think that's a big thing. I think he wants to prove that he's the smartest guy in the room, that he's better than you, if you will.
Yeah.
He can trick you into believing that he can read your mind, I guess. And he also, I guess there's a greed aspect attached to it. He realizes, hey, you can really sucker people into this and kind of like manipulate their emotions,
right.
Make them do what you want to do.
Right.
So I think that's part of it. And they warn him, is like, hey, this is dangerous stuff. You got to keep it on the G-rated side, I guess. As they say, don't play the spook game, which means pretend you can talk to the dead.
Yeah.
And they warn him about him early on. He doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
But he also meets a bunch of other people in the circus. Molly, who becomes his love interest, played by Mara Rooney. And I really like her. What do you think about her as an actress?
I really liked her in this film. She fits good with Bradley Cooper's character, and let me just tell you, when you first meet these circus people, I mean, this is like you said, this is this depression, so it's not clean at all. It's kind of a dumpy kind of thing, and it almost had this Batman Returns vibe as far as, gritty and dark and all that kind of thing. And, I mean, some of these people are very questionable from the beginning. And so you don't really know who to trust. You don't really know if you should trust Stanton, to be honest with you. So, yeah, this is a world that I don't know, it's just so fascinating, these people that he meets throughout this whole thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's what made me think, like, the first hour or so, it has a very much like a Netflix miniseries vibe to it.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
exactly.
I could just watch a whole series of these people.
Yeah.
And I really like Molly because she seems like she's not all creepy and stuff like everybody else you're saying.
Right.
She's just seems like a good, genuine person that, I guess she is kind of weird. She likes to electrocute herself on stage. And Stanton comes and connects with her. I don't know, I guess it's really neat because they kind of start hitting it off. And I don't know, do you buy their relationship?
Not really. To be honest with you, I didn't. And that's not, I don't think that was unintentional. I'm not sure if Stanton could really love someone because he just seems such of a loner kind of thing. I don't know if she could or not. But I do think that they kind of have some sort of kindred spirit. So maybe there is love there. I don't know. But what did you think of their relationship?
I think there was something there initially.
Sure.
Definitely on her part.
Yeah.
And, but I think he likes to use people, it seems like. And
yeah.
definitely as the film progresses, he uses her more and more. And it's really sad what happens between her and him.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll get into that later if we do go there.
If we at all.
But I think she's awesome. I really like her character. I think she's kind of like the moral compass of the whole film. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, our last circus guy I really want to talk about is Willem Dafoe as Clem. Whew.
Man, this guy is just such a good actor. I mean, Willem Dafoe, I'm telling you, like... and I know we're not talking about it, but when he, brought back his Norman Osborn in the new Spider-Man film, I was just like, man, it's like he never left the role. And with this movie, I mean, he's just so creepy. Like, from the first minute you meet him, I was creeped out. What about you?
Yeah, I think he's definitely creepy in this film. And
yes,
him as an actor, I just grow more respect for him as I get older. He's been in so many great films. He's a character actor of sorts, but he's a character actor that doesn't just blend in the background. He can kind of steal a show.
He can.
And I think that's... If he was stuck anything past the first act, he probably would have stolen the whole movie. To me, he actually reminds me of like the devil in the film, if you will. He's the great corrupter.
Yes.
He says a lot of things that sound true about the world, but then when you think about him, you're like, that's a very cynical, very evil way of looking at things. Such as what he says about the freak. Yeah, the freak. He's just like, people like to come and see this guy because it makes them feel better about themselves. And at first you're just like, that sounds really bad, but then you're like, oh, I guess it's true.
And that's something that I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's something that I kind of thought about when you're watching that first scene with the chicken and everything. And again, go watch the movie. But the fact that they were entertained by that, I mean, it's easy to go, oh, well, that's just sick and everything. But that's just how humans can be. And I mean, some people will pay, I think they paid, 25 cents to see this guy? Which was probably a lot of money at that point. So, it just kind of shows you how dark just a normal person can be. That just wants to watch something. And you could maybe say that about us because we watched the movie. But what did you think about that? Did you have any thoughts, at least when that chicken scene started like that or anything? Or did you... What was your reaction?
I couldn't believe what Clem was doing to this guy. That he is getting rich off this guy, just basically a drug addict, an alcoholic, whatever it is, who's has no family, has nobody who cares about him, that is just there to kind of get the next fix. And it's just sad that how he's able to manipulate this person. And I guess that's why Stanton, in retrospect, why he likes Clem and thinks he's kind of a cool guy. Because if you notice that part of the film, they're hanging around a lot.
Yep.
They're Clem's telling him, like, how did he fall into this? And
right.
I don't know. It's just very much a corruption thing, I think, that we're seeing in the scenes of them together. That's why I'm like, he reminds me of the devil a little bit. And plus he makes the alcohol and everything, and we all know what that eventually leads to with Pete, which is also very bad. I think it's interesting because he's kind of like looking for, I guess, a mentor or father figure. So he goes to Clem, he goes to Pete, and I think he probably should just listen to Pete. I think he would have got a lot further in life.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so that's the first act of the movie, is kind of like getting to know these people at the circus, kind of get into this world, and Stanton becomes a mentalist, and he decides to take the show on the road. He's going to take Molly with him. They're going to be a 2-person act, and they're going to try to get the richest people in Manhattan to be their clients. And I guess for a period of time, the show's going great, but then, guess what? Stanton's going to become corrupted by the old...
You knew it was going to happen. You knew it was. I mean...
Yeah. It felt like you just had that feeling in the air that was going to happen. I didn't really see the way it was going to happen, though. About halfway through the movie, we're introduced to this new character. Her name's Dr. Lilith Ritter, played by Cate Blanchett. And she is a femme fatale of sort.
Definitely.
Who, you meet her, and what are your first thoughts when you see this character?
Trouble. I mean, we talked about Double Indemnity, or I did last week. And when you first meet Phyllis, she doesn't look like trouble. She's got blonde hair. She looks kind of angelic. So you don't see trouble. Not the same thing with this lady in this film. I think it was pretty apparent. Anybody that's named Doctor, you got to watch out for in movies like this, because they might be a doctor, but you don't know what of, and what their background is. And I don't know, just the red flags came up for me on her entrance. Very good portrayal and very interesting character, but definitely somebody you didn't want to get on bad terms with. Yeah,
she's very interesting, because when she and Stanton first meet up, they're both trying to I guess be the dominant one.
Right.
They're both trying to play that mental gymnastics game, saying, "Guess what? I'm smarter than you. Guess what?
Exactly.
I'm the one manipulating you." And she kind of, we're just talking about Clem corrupts, and she does the big thing because she puts the seed in his brain of the scheme to get rich. Because
exactly,
they were having a good job with he and Molly doing their show, but
yep.
She says, "Hey, guess what? I'm a psychiatrist." And I've got the tapes on the richest people in this city. And I can give you the dirt on them, and we can go 50-50, and we will rob these people blind. And that's when it gets bad. He starts becoming a totally different person, if you will, once they start seeing each other. And I'm going to say see each other because it's not just being a professional relationship.
No.
It becomes a full-out affair, which, for me, when I'm watching this, I get mad at the guy.
Well, again, it's kind of like Double Indemnity, This insurance guy who's an honest, normal guy meets this girl, and this girl has this plan, and then he gets so bad that he wants to take her out to save his own skin. And I think there's a definite parallel with this situation. Stanton might have been an okay dude if he had never ran into her. I really think he might have been alright, but I think the moment he let her into his life, I think that changed him forever. I think that kind of derailed any human decency he had left in him, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm not going to say he was good, but I would say that he was trying to go the good path. He was trying to do better. But she definitely gave him, it's I guess she was the matches. She gave him that, and now he's really playing with fire. And they get into it. They're playing the spook game. He's pretending to talk to ghosts of all these rich people, and at first it seems kind of harmless. But over time, you realize this is not good. You are playing with people's emotions because these people are wanting to believe that you're able to have this power. And just the fact that they have that desire makes them very easy to manipulate. And he takes their money. It seems like it would be a sort of a harmless crime.
Exactly.
But as we soon find out, it is not a harmless crime. It hurts people. At the end of the film, we see a woman basically want to get with her dead son because she thinks that they're going to be reunited. And that scene just shocked the heck out of me when that happened.
Same here.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Stanton, he's just getting worse. He actually, the whole film, he's saying he doesn't drink alcohol, he can't be around it, and he becomes an alcoholic of sorts. And meanwhile, he's treating Molly like crap. And it just breaks my heart when she finds that sketchbook and sees what he's drawn in there and sees Dr. Ritter. And she's smart. She's not going to stick around. She's like, I see what's happening here. But he comes back and pulls her back in again and nearly gets her killed. And that scene in particular, oh my gosh.
No kidding.
And I don't know how we haven't gotten into the look of the film yet.
Well,
but this movie is shot beautifully.
That's the thing, and I mean this in such a good way. You almost forget it's a film it's shot so well. Like, it just transports you back into this world that, I don't know, it's just so well done. And props to the designers of the whole film, because it just, I mean, again, it's so engrossing, and you just really see yourself in that situation, in the time period and all that. And I really think they did a really good job of transporting you back to that time period, because like you said earlier, a lot of movies do that, where they talk about depression, or they say you're in the depression. This really does feel like you're in, you know, the worst kind of thing. And again, that's a huge credit to the filmmakers on this part, because I think that's one of the first things I noticed about this film, is just how much detail is in every shot, is in, you know, all the locations. We talked about the circus earlier, when he first gets into that it's just so grimy and dirty and disgusting, yet, you know, people are paying money to see these weird attractions and all this thing, and I just couldn't stop watching it, man.
Yeah, it's very engrossing. It looks like an old film, but at the same time, it does. It's very dreamlike, I think, at times. It's like, what have I been watching at this point? I guess it makes sense. It's called Nightmare Alley, I guess. Sort of nightmarish at times. And we're not going to get into it totally, but basically, it goes awry for Stanton. He loses it all. At the same time, this is probably the most compelling part of the whole film, as we see him fall into his descent, as he gets deeper and deeper into his hole. And he doesn't, as like our buddy last week, he doesn't get the woman, he doesn't get the money, he gets nothing. And it's awesome, but depressing at the same time.
Well, the thing is, it's not anything that couldn't happen in real life. You know, people have, you know, thrown away their whole life for the drink or a person or whatever, and, you know, they lose everything. And it's a sad situation, and no different, like you said, with Double Indemnity last week. And in this movie, I think there's a lot of similarities between Stanton and Walter. If you go down a certain path, it's not going to end well, and it's really sad to watch, but it's really just, you know, you hear about it all the time with different people who have fallen out of grace and that kind of thing. And but man, this movie is just such a unique experience. I couldn't even, like, if we had done this show last night after I watched it the first time, I probably would just be mouthing sounds, because my brain was so, like, I couldn't think at that point, you know? And it wasn't like I was like, oh, did I like that or not? I knew I loved the film, but I didn't know how I could express that love. And I still kind of struggle with it, as you hear now, because it's such a relatable thing in a way, but it's also just so bizarre. And I mean that in a good way, of how far he goes, and because he gets influenced by several people, really. And he just gets lower and lower and lower, and, you know, it's a sad thing, and it's a horrible thing, and you would hate to see that somebody you love, or, you know, friend or something, but I guess that's what makes this movie watchable, because you can relate to that in some way.
Yeah, in a weird way you can. It's kind of weird, because I'm never gonna fall to the depths this guy did.
Let's hope not.
No, I hope not. But at the same time, it kind of has that unique sort of thing that allows you to connect to it. It's definitely human, at the same time it's alien. And I'm glad you said it. It's, you can't put your finger on a lot of that is working, because it's such a complex film. So much foreshadowing going on. Which themes, I mean, I guess we could probably spend an hour talking about all the themes in it.
Oh yeah.
But I just want to fish through a few just to see what you got, because I don't know, I'm the same way as you. I was thinking about this movie for days after watching it, And one of the things that I kept coming back to is the last line of the film. How he was saying he was born to play this part. Do you think, I mean, it's like fate is inevitable? I mean, did he choose this path or did it just happen? What do you think?
That's such a huge thing because it's something I've struggled with in my own life, you know? Because I don't know if you can do this, but I can, without a doubt, tell you there could have been a decision that I made years ago where my life would be totally different right now if I'd made that decision differently than what I actually did make it. Like, if you have two choices, A or B, and let's say I chose A, and so A's gotten me to where I am right now, right? Well, if I had chosen B, number one, I probably would not be sitting in this town right now. And, so is fate kind of a thing? I've struggled with that, man, because I want to say, yeah, there's fate. You know, it was inevitable that we, you know, to go on the path that we're going on. But I don't know. What about you? What's your feelings on that?
It's tough to say because this guy tries to go against fate, and yet he unintentionally chooses what's eventually going to get him there. And that's why I don't know, Freud people probably go nuts with this film because they're like, oh, it's his subconscious. He subconsciously decided to do this at this point. And it definitely has a lot to that, especially since the doctor is a psychologist. He's psychoanalyzes him, and that to me like is probably the lowest he gets in the whole film is like, oh crap, this woman's got me figured out. But I don't want to digress too much. But I think it definitely gets into how you have to be aware of your actions the best you can, but sometimes you do things that you're not aware of, and whether or not that is you acting by not acting or something, I guess. I don't know, it's really hard to put into words.
It really is. I mean, but it's definitely something to think about with this film.
It's how your thoughts could be directing your actions without you knowing it.
Right.
And I think we get that in this film, and definitely. I think sometimes that happens in real life. Like sometimes you have an aversion to, like, let's say it's a reluctance to do something, so you will intentionally avoid it at all costs.
Right.
And that, as you were saying earlier, that might cause you to make a different decision and cause you not to take a certain path. And it's definitely something you have to be aware of. And I guess as you get older, you have to make sure that you are making those right choices and trying to lead the life that you really want to live and not the easiest life.
And I think that's the main thing is you want to live your life, you know. And that makes me want to ask you a question then. By a certain point, is Stanton in control of his own life, or is other things controlling him at this point? Like, is he in control, or is everything else in control of him?
I think he loses control. I think he allows his greed and his, I guess, his ego and his lust to control him and send him on this path. Because, like you were saying earlier, I think he probably could have lived a good life with Molly. And it's probably not good to live a life where you're being a fake and pretending to trick people, but it's better than what he eventually did.
Right.
And so I think just that thirst for power, the thirst to fuel his ego, and plus, I guess, this woman that made him feel, I don't know if he feels good when he's with her, or if it's sort of like a drug, he likes it, but it also makes him feel bad afterwards. But definitely there's some corruption going on there, but also the alcohol. I think that can be overstated, how that was the vice that drove the wedge between he and his dad, and later it's the one that he has to search for, that he's going to give up his dad's watch for at the end.
See, and that's what I love about this film, because it makes you think about a lot, and it makes you question a lot, but you know, in your own life and the people that you're around. I mean, just what really are we in control of? Because I heard someone the other day, who was it? Oh, I know what it was. It was Jim Carrey talking about when he was Andy Kaufman, and he was talking about you really have free will, or is because I'm thirsty, I have to get over here and get a drink. Is that free will or is that a choice? You know, and I think the same thing here. Could Stanton have had free will at some point? Sure, maybe so. Does he have it by the end of the film? I don't think so. But is that because of choices that he made? Yeah. So again, I think it's sort of a question in there is the decisions that we make freely giving control to someone else or something else or, you know, whatever.
Yeah. And I guess the last big lesson, when your friends try to warn you, when they pull out some tarot cards and say, hey, this looks bad, you better listen to it. But I love this discussion. I think this movie's awesome because it definitely gets you... I mean, just look at this. We just talked philosophically for the past 10 minutes. And how many movies can make you do that?
This film is amazing. And I'm not going to say, hey, you'll find it amazing yourself. I hope you do. I really, really do. But if you don't, I completely understand. But this is one of those movies I feel like I could watch several more times and still get something out of it that I didn't beforehand. That's how good I think this movie really is. I'm blown away by it, guys. I really am. And if you haven't seen this movie, guys, it's called Nightmare Alley. Look it up. Go on. As Steve said, it's on HBO Max. That's how I watched it. Give yourself a chance with this film because it really will make you think. And I don't think I've had that experience with film in a long time anyway. I mean, just makes you really look inside yourself a lot. And I know that's scary for some people. It is scary for me too. But it really will make you think no matter what. Just an amazing film.
Yeah, and it's a great experience. Very well made if we just want to look at the technical aspects. Great sound design, great direction, great photography. So even if you're just into that stuff, check it out. So this movie is for the movie lovers, but also those who like to... I guess think a little bit deeper. They want more other movies, and because this is not a popcorn film, as I would say.
No.
But balance this out with a good dose of popcorn films. We're not going to say just watch this and then watch only this.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed this film. I give this, we don't necessarily rate these films, but I would definitely give this 9.5 out of 10. I mean, I just think it's a very, very, very good film. Probably the best film I've seen this year as far as, everything that a film consists of. I'm going to track this film down because eventually it probably will leave HBO, and I definitely want to watch this a few more times. So, definitely recommend this. Highly, highly.
I second all of that to the 10th degree. It was a great film. I loved it. That's why I wanted you to watch it, and I want everybody else out there to watch it too, because I think these are the kind of movies that I hope never leave the theaters. I hope they continue.
Amen.
They continue making movies like this because this is not a big tentpole film. This is just a movie by a director that has had some success, but he still has to fight for what he wants to make, and I'm glad this movie got made.
And if you know somebody out there that maybe is not familiar with our show, tell them about this film. If you think that they would be into this movie, strongly advise them to watch it because, again, I think it's one of those films that I really do think people need to watch it more just because of the message and what it kind of makes you do in your own head. Because I think it's very healthy to kind of reevaluate yourself and that kind of thing. So definitely suggest that.
So it's dark, but it's good kind of dark. It's not too bad.
This is not like a straight up horror film. Like there's no like jump scares or a lot of blood anyway. But it is a bit creepy, so might want to leave a light on or something.
Definitely. But we're going to change gears completely for next week's shows.
Yep.
We're going to get some lighter fare coming on. Mm-hmm. One of them is a film that SuperCaZt watched for the first time recently that I've seen a few times. And it's a Hitchcock film all about adventure and fun and all that stuff. It's North by Northwest.
Oh,
starring
yes.
the great Cary Grant, and it's a good ride. And we're going to take you on it next week.
Looking forward to that.
Definitely. And we're also going back to high school with The Breakfast Club, the great John Hughes coming of age sort of film about all the misfits meeting at detention. Haven't seen that one in a while, so I'm looking forward to revisiting that and see if it holds up as well as it does in my memory.
And before we go, you guys, just want to remind you, if you want to hear more episodes like this, all you got to do is go to Spotify, search SuperCaZt with a Z, and we also have a Twitter at SuperCaZt, and we have a Facebook group. Just look on Facebook.com, search on groups, and SuperCaZt with a Z. You can follow us. You can comment on what movies you think we should watch. We're all a big family here, guys. We're not overlords or anything. So if you guys got suggestions, be more than welcome. Anything, share these episodes with your friends, and we just really love doing this. So please help us continue it, and we're excited to see where this goes. But just go to Facebook.com, search SuperCaZt, same on Twitter, and we do upload to Spotify. So if you have a Spotify account, not just this episode, but all our previous ones will be on there, and you can catch up with us. And like Steve said, we'll be doing North by Northwest and The Breakfast Club on next week. So until then, Steve, glad to have you back, and we look forward to next weekend. And we will see you guys on next time on the SuperCaZt.